One country celebrating its birth and another country mourning the end of an era.
I want my country to survive, to stay one.
Fear and respect are two very different goals.
The only winner, apart of Iran, was Israel.
3 World Cups, 3 encounters, 3 completely different pictures.
They did everything for Iran to lose, unfortunately.
Welcome back to Power and Perspective. And first of all, thank you to everyone who watched episode 1. And congratulations, if you're watching now, you are basically founding members, which means if this podcast somehow becomes huge one day, you'll be able to say, oh, I was listening before they even figured out all the technical problems.
Guys, welcome back. Thanks to you that are helping us and watching and subscribing and liking it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. And here's something that really struck me this week. You know, July the 4th, the United States celebrated its 250th Independence Day. And on that exact same day, Iran began the state funeral ceremonies for Ayatollah Khamenei. You know, one country celebrating its birth and another country mourning the end of an era. And those two stories are deeply connected. And I think the timing itself was unusual because the ceremonies lasted almost a week from July the 3rd to July the 9th, and they were held more than 4 months after his death. And representatives from around 100 countries are attending. So naturally, people started asking, why now? Was it practical? Was it political? Or was it also intended to send a message?
I think it was everything related because of course, first of all, let us explain what happened in details because details matter here. On July 4th, as everybody knows, the United States was celebrating its 205th Independence Day. It was a moment meant to project pride. Oh, we are Americans. God bless America, land of the brave and freedom. Also unity and power. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. But on the same day, it was very interesting because on the same day, Iran was holding the state funeral of the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So we had two different political rituals happening at the same time. So in America, it was all about flags, fireworks, independence, and national identity. On the other hand, exactly. And on the other hand, the funeral was about mourning, defiance, continuity, and survival. And that contrast mattered because the US, they wanted to celebrate 250 years of power. We cannot deny that so far, of course, you can see China rising, you can see Russia rising after the fall of the Soviet Union. Even other countries are day by day becoming more important, like India, somehow Brazil, Iran. But we cannot deny that still America is the most powerful country in the world in many areas of military, economic. Of course, you see other countries are rising. The world is becoming more multipolar by the day. But it did so at a moment when American society looks deeply divided. A recent poll showed that when you talk about the Democrats, half of the United States, a big part of the United States, of the American society, just 40% of Democrats, they consider themselves patriots. As you can see, many people in the United States nowadays, they don't consider themselves patriots. They don't like their countries anymore. Or let's change the point of view. They don't like their country's political actions.
Yeah, the government support rate has been really low nowadays.
Yes. And mainly this war with Iran was very unpopular among many Americans. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, many people, they were against this war and even rooting for Iran. You see how things changed. If you see social media, if you see X and other platforms, you can see many Americans supporting Iran. It was completely new. Of course, many Americans during history were anti-war, but this time I could see that it reached both political spectrum, like Democrats and Republicans alike. And also, as you mentioned, the participants also matter because people are wondering and watching which countries came, which
Right.
countries stayed away. And
Yes.
not just that, how important each delegation was. So, for example, as you can see, I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, you can correct me.
Mm-hmm.
China sent Huawei,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
did I pronounce correctly? Yeah.
Yeah.
Russia, Dmitry Medvedev. So, Pakistan sent a delegation, Turkey, most of Central Asian countries, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, no, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan also, Armenia, Pashinyan was there, India, Iraq, Oman, Afghanistan. I'm reading the countries that sent delegation. Azerbaijan,
Mm-hmm.
Qatar, and even Saudi Arabia. What is very interesting because
Yes.
if you follow geopolitics, you can see that Saudi Arabia and Iran, not openly, but they were considered rivals in the region. And it's very important to see that Saudi Arabia was there. Unfortunately, many countries in the Middle East also was not present. And I know people who follow this channel, we like to talk about geopolitics, we like to talk about BRICS, multipolarity, but unfortunately, you have to see the reality that in Middle East, many countries they sided with Israel and Washington, with Tel Aviv and Washington. This is the reality. Like, I'm not going to name countries, but a big chunk of countries in the Middle East didn't send their delegation to Iran. I think and by the way, the only big delegation that was sent to Iran from the Middle East was Iraq. And it matters. It matters because it shows that, unfortunately, that region is still very connected to the United States. I could say that
Mm-hmm.
Middle East, maybe Latin America, in my opinion nowadays, according to my analysis, they are the regions where America has influenced the most. You know, it's huge. Many countries behind the scenes or even openly, they sided with Israel in this late confrontation with Iran. This is a harsh reality that you have to, unfortunately, accept. And at the same time, Iran's closest regional allies, they were there. I mean, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, they were all represented. The message was clear. Iran is not isolated. Iran is not alone. Iran has friends. Iran has allies. Its regional network is still alive. The axis of resistance is still alive. Of course, a little bit weakened with the recent setbacks, but still alive. So on the same day when America was celebrating its 250 years of independence, Iran used a funeral to challenge the image of American victory. I mean, Washington, okay, you could have killed our leader, but Tehran was trying to say, you did not break the nation, you did not break the system, and you didn't break our alliance. And this is very important, you know? And also there are also Iranian reports that the US pressured some countries in the region not to attend. And very unfriendly act. Of course, many countries didn't show up, but others showed up. For example, a big surprise for me was Saudi Arabia appearing. And it's a sign that I believe Saudi Arabia understood that Iran is here to stay. Iran is part of the Middle East. You cannot change your neighbors.
Yes.
During many years, they were trying to change Iran politically, weaken it, but now I think they understood that Iran is there to stay, and you cannot change the government, you cannot change the regime. Many people in Iran that were critical of the regime before, this time they supported Iran. You could see that many times in the last 10, 15 years, or maybe 20 years, many times Iran witnessed many people protesting in Iran. And even those people that were protesting in Iran, most of them nowadays, they say, no. Of course, I am against the government of Iran, but I don't want my country to be invaded. I don't want my country to be attacked or to be dismembered. I want my country to survive, to stay one. I don't want my country to be divided into many different nation states. And it was very important. I think it showed the world that the United States, they cannot do their will around the world anymore. I think Iran somehow showed the world that, okay, you can resist, you can win, you can overcome, you can be victorious in this war. Because, of course, it was not a victory in pure military terms, but it showed the United States that no, I know you wanted to destroy Iran, I know you wanted to change the government, but things didn't go as you planned. We stayed, we resisted, and we have overcome. So it was a very important political message to Iran and to the whole world.
Yes, to Iran, to America, and to the whole world, of course. And speaking of message, one thing that also caught my attention was Trump's language, actually, because, after the White House released its memorandum of understanding with Iran in mid-June, the reaction inside America was intense. Some commentators argued that America spent around $75 billion confronting Iran and then committed hundreds of billions. I remember 300 of billions US dollar, if I'm not wrong, to rebuilding and stabilizing the region, only to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which was already open before the conflict even began. And some even called it a surrender agreement and, described it as America's greatest humiliation since the Vietnam War. But if you compare what Trump was saying a few months ago with what he's saying now, it's honestly like listening to two completely different people. Earlier, Trump's message was always, basically just do what we want or else. And even in the negotiations in Switzerland, he was still threatening Iran, right? So the talks collapsed and the Iranian negotiators walked out during the negotiation. But now he's saying, okay, as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. And he specifically said he didn't want to use the word fear because that's an inappropriate word. I'm pretty surprised by Trump saying that, and I found the wording really interesting because fear and respect are two very different goals.
Exactly.
So did you feel that shift?
Yes, because the world is becoming multipolar, but Trump mentally is bipolar. One day he's all about peace. They want to make a deal with Iran. Next day, he wants to start a new war. I mean, this is this is Trump's behavior. We have to deal with that.
I mean, he's just being Trump.
Yeah, he's being Trump. One day, no, don't worry, make peace with Iran. I should get the Nobel Prize, Peace Nobel Prize. And next day, no, we have to destroy, bomb Iran to the stand age. We have to finish off the government, but at the end of the day, things didn't work out how he planned. It's obvious that with the influence or pressure of some Middle Eastern countries that I don't want to name, I name it because I'm just a YouTuber. I mean, as you know, Israel was pressuring the United States to change the government in Iran, and also, let's be honest, most of the countries in the region, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, all of the countries, they were somehow doing that. Most countries in the region, they saw Iran as a threat because Iran was Shia. Personally, I think it was a mistake from the countries in the Middle East because nowadays, if you don't like Israel, if you don't like Zionism, you can see that nowadays Israel and the Zionist movement are pretty strong because of the of the defeat of some actors, mainly Assad. When Assad fell, Hezbollah got weakened, and now Israel is attacking south of part of Lebanon. Guys, you cannot forget that around more than 1 million Lebanese are refugees inside Lebanon. Many people from the southern part of Lebanon, they had to leave that place because Israel invaded. And Israel invaded because Hezbollah is weak. And Hezbollah is weak because Assad fell. Understand? This is the reality. Let's be honest with things, how things happen. And most of the countries in the region, I am saying Turkey, Gulf countries, all of these countries, they support it. They want it to happen. But at the same time, as I said, I could say that Israel got stronger from this conflict. This is my analysis. However, I can see that at the same time, Iran also got stronger. It's interesting because I think Israel got stronger and Iran got stronger because Iran showed, as I said, not just to the American public, but to the whole world that you cannot change the government, you cannot defeat Iran. If you cannot destroy Iran's military capabilities. You can try to bomb them, but they are still alive. They are still standing on its feet. It's impossible, and this is why many countries they show up in this funeral because they see that shift matters. Things change completely. It was very important for countries like China, Russia, or India, Brazil, the BRICS, countries that somehow support multipolarity. It was very important because it showed those countries that you can defeat them. You can defeat unipolarity. Okay, you can survive it. You can overcome. And of course, now Trump is more soft. He's talking about peace, negotiation. It doesn't mean that the U.S. suddenly trusts Iran. It means, this is very important to understand, it means the cost of war became too high. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like inflation, oil prices, shipping roads, reconstruction costs.
Exactly.
Very high.
Right. Totally agree. And I always have this theory. I still think Trump genuinely wants to become one of the most consequential presidents in American history. But I also think he's realistic enough to understand a few things, just like you mentioned. And first, America cannot actually defeat Iran in a war. Like you said, you can bomb a country, you can kill leaders, you can destroy facilities, infrastructures, but unless you are willing to launch a full-scale ground war, to invade and occupy the country, you're not going to eliminate the state. No way.
Exactly.
But that price would be too high for America, and every new generation of leaders in Iran may become even more hardline. Yeah, and also, like you said, wars are too expensive in ways people don't always see, not just money, weapons, logistics, and manufacturing capacity. Every missile fired at Iran is a missile unavailable somewhere else, right? And the US still need that weapon reserve. And some of those weapons aren't easy to replace. So they're also thinking about that. And you were mentioning oil. I totally agree, because I think that's perhaps mattered more than everything else. I actually think oil may have been the factor that forced everyone back to the negotiating table. Because, Trump himself admitted that if the war had continued much longer, America's oil reserves wouldn't survive more than a month. So it's already at its lowest level since the early 1980s. I think 1983, I read something online a few days ago. And then you're not just talking about foreign policy anymore. You're talking about, inflation, markets, the economy, potentially even political collapse, right? Because the midterm election is very close right now. And sometimes I started wondering, is this actually about winning or losing? I mean, on a battlefield, or is this just a moment when economics catches up with geopolitics?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we cannot. We are seeing that soon there'll be midterm elections and inflation rising, oil very expensive. So Trump need a victory. Trump thought to himself, "Well, I need to get rid of that. I need to solve this problem before midterm elections, because many Democrats are talking about impeachment, and so Trump." He's very pragmatic. He's a businessman, art of the deal. He understood it correctly, and he thought to himself, well, I have to finish this soon. I have to solve this problem. I have to leave. I have to declare victory, and bye-bye. At the end of the day, I see that America just lost with this war, and if they want to start a ground invasion, definitely Republicans would lose everything, even the Senate probably, and next election the presidency. Things will be very bad for the Republicans, for Trump. And you cannot forget that nowadays the United States is not just one country. Republicans and Democrats nowadays they disagree in many areas vehemently. So taking all of this into consideration, Trump understood that, okay, I have to leave. And I think for China, for Russia, it was, of course, many people died, that's sad, but for them it was great. It showed that, okay, unipolarity is over. Man, if the United States cannot defeat Iran, cannot change the government in Iran, how they can change the government in China or in Russia, two nuclear power countries. It showed that, okay, the multipolarity is here to stay. Okay, so nowadays you need the time of threats, of menacing. It's over. Now you have to sit down and negotiate and talk to those new powers emerging. That's the reality.
I'm not sure if you watched a show recently in America. Obama attended a TV show, and he said something that I kept thinking about these days. So he basically pointed out that, during his presidency, the United States already had an agreement with Iran, an agreement that explicitly prohibit Iran from developing nuclear weapons. And then Trump withdrew from that agreement during his first term. So Iran accelerated its nuclear program and expanded. Now America is spending enormous resources confronting Iran. So Obama was saying that the US may have ended up back where it started, or perhaps somewhere worse. That's an incredibly uncomfortable question. You will just think about what exactly was all of this for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Barack Hussein Obama, but he's spot on this subject, on this matter. You can criticize Obama as much as you want, but let's be honest, they had a deal. And Iran was following this deal, okay? And Trump suddenly, as I said, pressured by some lobbies, probably Israeli lobby, Saudi lobby, and other lobbies in the region, they pressure United States to, again, trying to change the government in Iran. Okay, no, let's put pressure, total pressure. And at the end of the day, it didn't work. This pressure didn't work. Okay, Iran survived, Iran got stronger, and America, at the end of the day, everybody could see that America is weak comparing to previous time. I mean, America was not as strong as people thought. They couldn't change the government in Iran. Of course, I'm not saying America is completely weak, defeated, it's over. America now has just to go back to its borders. No, America is still a superpower. But this aura is over. And Obama is right, because at the end of the day, after so much stress, Trump is dealing with Iran. They are going to make another deal, So at the end of the day, it was just for nothing, I could say. Just for nothing, for point of view. Of course, I think the only victory that I see, and I think I'm the only international analyst, geopolitical analyst that sees this way. I think the only winner, apart of Iran, was Israel, because you can see that Israel got stronger. No one is talking about Gaza anymore. No one is talking about it anymore. Israel now controls big chunk of Gaza. They are in Lebanon now. Hezbollah, okay, they are destroying many Israeli military power. But let's be honest, Israel is in southern part of Lebanon. They're not saying, they're not talking about leaving that place. So if you see by this point of view, Iran and somehow Israel, they got stronger from this point of view. But America, not at all. So at the end of the day, you can start a war with slogan, but to end with economics also. This is something that Trump understands clearly.
Yeah, exactly. So there was the deal, and then they have to start everything over. And like, just as we were saying at the very beginning, so they spent 75 billion US dollars to confronting Iran, and now, you know, spending another 300 billion US dollars to fix it, to rebuild it. So everything is, I don't understand. It's in vain.
Yes, waste of money.
And there's another story I wanted to share. It's about World Cup. Have you been following the World Cup? I know Brazil.
Of course. Most Brazilians, they follow it, even those who don't like football much. I mean, we say football, don't say soccer. Soccer, just Americans say soccer. The whole world says football. Okay, you can say football or soccer, whatever. And of course, I was also happy. I think Iran played very well. Of course, some things are very controversial. I think Iran, they tried Iran to lose, because Iran had to travel from country to country, from region to region. They were very tired. They did everything for Iran to lose, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I read stories about US and Iran in the World Cup. I mean, I'm not a football person, but the World Cup is everywhere, even in China. You know, everyone's watching football, although that, you know, China is not playing. But honestly, these kind of stories, I think, explain US-Iran relations better than some of the political science textbooks or other, you know, examples we talked about. Because I was reading, you know, during the 1998 World Cup, which is in France, Iranian players, they gave white roses to American players, and these two teams, they took photos together, and it became one of the most famous moments in sports diplomacy. And then in 2022 Qatar World Cup, so last World Cup, before the match, the US Soccer Federation temporarily removed the emblem from Iran's national flag on social media. So Iran protested, and people argued online for many days, and suddenly football becomes another battlefield. And now this year, 2026 World Cup, Iranian players, those videos are viral, the video. Iranian players are wearing badges with the number 168, commemorating the 168 children killed during the bombing campaign. So you see, 1998, 2022, and 2026, 3 World Cups, 3 encounters between America and the US, between America and Iran, but 3 completely different pictures.
Yeah, I think in the last 80 years, things got more aggressive. And of course, I love football. And my advice for China is, guys, invest in football, because I think if China invests heavily on football, like other countries are doing now, definitely China could be at least Asian champion. You know, East Asians are playing very well, like Japan and Korea. They play very well. Like Japan play against Brazil now, and oh my God, it was a hard game. It was a very hard game. It was 2-1, but we suffered. We suffered tremendously. East Asians, they are playing pretty well. Football now became international. when I was a kid, okay, every time or Brazil was winning, or Argentina, or Italy, or Germany, basically, you know. Of course, Brazil won more in history, but also Germany and Italy and Argentina won many times, yes. But nowadays, no. Nowadays, you see Morocco playing excellent, France,
Hmm.
Spain, Portugal, countries that 20 years ago. Oh, African teams were fantastic, fantastic. They play pretty well. So I think this is my advice for Chinese government: start invest on football, because definitely you you go far. I'm sure, like maybe in 20, 30 years, you can even get a World Cup if you start
That's
investing now.
another story. I mean,
Yeah,
football story in China, that's another one. It's really difficult.
no, but 1.5 billion people, if 1% likes football, it's a lot. It's a country.
They love it. I don't know. I that's not my field. I
No,
another
but think
story.
about that. It's very important, big soft power, you know. And definitely, I support China. Definitely, say go, go, go. How say go, go, go in? How say go, go, go in Chinese? Like go, let's do it. How say?
加油!
加油, 加油.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, but unfortunately, in this World Cup, we saw many bad things happening. It's funny that, for example, in Mexico, oh my God, everybody loved Iran. Everybody treated Iran very well. When Iran was playing Mexico, everything was fine. But again, in the United States, they were not well treated, and at the end of the day, they had to leave. It's sad
Hmm.
because, I mean, I don't know if who likes football understand what I'm talking about. Like Iran is one of the best Asian teams nowadays, and they had to leave. Then that is pretty sad. That's pretty sad. I definitely became sad with that. So this is one of the things that I think America played very bad politically and diplomatically regarding Iran.
Mm.
But in
Mm.
football, America nowadays is playing well. Like again, it was a surprise. But this is how things are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, you know, sports, they also reflect politics as well. So when I think about those three images between US and Iran side by side, I feel like I'm kind of looking back at the history of US relations itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately, America still has this mentality like we against the world.
Yeah. Anyway, aside from all those talks and negotiation finally between the two countries, one thing I feel pretty surprising, but on a second thought, not so surprising, not really surprising, is that everyone thanked China. You know, Trump publicly thanked China. Iranian Foreign Minister Arakchi called Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to express gratitude, and Pakistan, you know, in the
Yeah.
middle,
Oh,
also thanked China for its support. And I think that's maybe another definition of power. You know, not
yeah.
being the
No,
strongest military
definitely.
power, right? You know, being the country that everyone still wants to talk to. That's really important.
Yeah, I think China that diplomatically became a superpower. Like as you
Mm.
said, Iran, Trump, even Trump say, okay, thank you. 谢谢. Just that.
Yeah. You know, for making the talk
Trump,
happen, making it work.
yeah, Trump, Iran, even Iran, Pakistan, they were all grateful, and China behind the scenes worked hard for, even though China could benefit from this geopolitically, they didn't want war to continue. I think this was great. And that says a lot because China is no longer just only an economic power, it's becoming a diplomatic power. And also,
Mm.
we cannot forget that technological power and a civilizational power. Like China is thousands of years old, is a very big civilization. Recently, I have been reading about Xia dynasty. I don't know if I pronounce correctly, Shang dynasty, and all those.
Ah,
Yeah,
Xia Dynasty, Shang
yeah,
Dynasty, and
Shang
Zhou Dynasty.
dynasty. Yes, and I was Joe. I was reading about this, so it's not just a normal country. And also, we cannot forget that this year, soon, I'm going to China.
Oh yeah, see
Yeah,
you
I'm
in
going to
China, see you
China.
in
Very
Beijing,
excited.
finally.
I see firsthand. I see with my own eyes the progress of China, and also soon. I don't know if guys know it, but it'll be the anniversary, 105th anniversary of the Communist Party of China,
Exactly.
and
Also
yeah,
this week. Yeah,
yes,
so there
and
was a grand celebration happening in Beijing. Yeah.
mhm. And I really want to see China. I want to see the events and festivities, and it's interesting that what I want to talk about this new China that you see raising. I mean, I can say because I'm not Chinese, so I don't have a bias, you know. But
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can see, the whole world can see that the system
Mm-hmm.
China created worked, like the
Mm-hmm.
socialism with Chinese characteristics. It has
Mm-hmm.
clearly worked for China. I mean, I want to see
Mm-hmm.
by my own eyes, but you can see hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, modern infrastructure. I mean, I saw many videos about that, and most of my friends, I mean, I have many friends who visit China. They told me that China became an industrial superpower and create a better life for its own citizens. I watch a lot of Chinese series, and I say, "Oh my God, it's so everything's so orderly, built, everything's so advanced,"
That's
and this is
great.
something that the whole world must see. And the point is this: China did not just copy the West. They
No.
took many things from the West, how the
Mm-hmm.
West works technologically. They invited many international brands to establish in
Mm-hmm.
China, and it was great. But at the same time, it not surrender its national identity. And this
No,
is
it has its own path.
own
So
path,
you say, yeah,
and this is
Chinese
something that
characteristic.
I want, for example, my country, Brazil. I want Brazil to do the same. I think we should modernize while remaining ourselves, remaining Brazilian. I mean, I want India to do the same. I want Iran doing the same. Russia. I want every country. Every country should copy what China is doing. Like, okay, we are in a global world. We need to think about modernity, developing ourselves, but not forgetting who we are, our roots. And you always talk about politically, economically, but also I support cultural multipolarity. Cultural. I
Mm.
mean, we Chinese being Chinese. When I go to China, I want to see China. I want to see Chinese people, Chinese language, Chinese culture. I want to eat Chinese food, and I want the same for other countries in the world. And this is something that many people in Brazil they see this way, because, for example, as in Brazil, Latin America, and most of Western countries, we are divided by right and left. Okay,
Mm.
and most of political parties from the left were communist. They had this Marxist heritage. So definitely, most of them they have a positive view of China. I talk about the old school left, not talk about the modern left. Modern left is changing; they're becoming more uh, woke, let's say. But I think, and that not just the left wing in Latin America or in Brazil,
Mm.
but also even the right wing, they should start supporting more China. Because, for example, if you look at China seriously, we see many values that conservatives usually respect. I mean, family, social order, respect for authority, discipline, hard work. These are things that most right wingers they cherish, they support it.
Yeah,
And
these are the common values, no matter which country or which political party you're from.
yeah, but the left in the West nowadays is more liberal, is more international, doesn't like
Mm,
patriotism. Nowadays in the West, it is more reflected on the right. Of course, if you're from the left, there are things that you like in China. If you're from the right, there are things that you may like in China. And this is what I want to, I wanted it to happen. I think the left and the right, they should look at China with good eyes. Because, for example, China is Brazil. I talk about Brazil, my own country, is our main trading partner, like our agribusiness, money, energy, infrastructure, technology, they are all connected to China. So for Brazil, understanding China is not optional, it's strategic. Like without China, our economy will be way worse. You understand? And this is something that we have to understand. Nowadays, the American model is going down. It's
mm,
failing because you see, unfortunately, in the United States, we have an oligarchy. Oligarchy, like we have an economic elite that they have no problem, for example, weakening national workers or bringing cheap labor when serves profits. Like I don't want to enter into this debate of immigration, etc. But let's be honest, most of these big companies in the United States, they want to bring endless workers abroad because they want to pay less. That's the reality. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about left or left wing, right wing, Republican, Democrat here, and just stating a fact. Big companies in the West, they don't want to pay their workers a fair salary. That's why they want to bring more and more immigrants. You understand? And
mm,
this is something that for China, as I can see, doesn't do like this. For China, the most important are Chinese workers. If people are
mm.
working, like the economy must serve the people, not the people the economy.
Of course, yeah.
This, for example, is a huge debate inside America itself. Trump is president nowadays because he said, I want to make things in America. I want to value our workers. So I think this is something very important that most of countries, they have to understand. People are more important than our economy. People are more important than our GDP. Okay? And this is great. So China participates in globalization, yes, of course, but it never abandoned the idea that development must serve the nation, the people, the productive base of the country. And that's why China's growth has been so immense. Of course, my only criticism of China is that they can still do more in soft power. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they have this powerful economic might, this hard power, but in soft power, for example, as I say, China playing well,
Football.
good football, it will be good. You are selling a good image of China to the world. This is my only good criticism of China, like positive
Mm-hmm.
criticism. Like guys, try to work more on the soft power. You have a big
Well, we
potential for that.
not probably not only football. We could do ping pong. Ping
Ping
pong
pong.
is
Oh, I
also
love ping pong. I
they're
love ping pong.
they're both balls.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be good. So you have to understand that after 105 years of the CPC, the result is obvious. China became one of the most important powers of the earth.
Yeah. And when you were saying the power, you mentioned diplomatic power. I think that's really important because, there's a saying in China, a weak country doesn't have diplomacy. So in Chinese, it's called 弱国无外交. Only once you develop, you have a say in international affairs that people will listen to you. And I think, speaking of power, it's not just, like you said, it's not just economic power or military power, or it's not like, let's say what we were talking today, did America win or did Iran win? That's not the only power. Diplomatic power, cultural power, those are also very important powers. And
Definitely.
so Yeah, and over so many years, I would say like decades ago, nobody listened to China. If you watch the UN summit, the UN conference, China didn't have a say. But now, like we were mentioning, maybe just in the US-Iran issue conflict, people were leaning towards China, respecting China's view. So that means something, you know.
Yeah,
It's after
definitely.
years of development. And like you said, this week is the 105th anniversary of the Communist Party of China, the CPC. It's been all over the news, grand celebration. So what I want to share is, 105 years ago, the CPC began with only a handful of people, a small group of people on a small boat, the Red Boat. So today it has more than 101 million members. So over 101 million members, that's the most recent data. Honestly, when I talk about that anniversary, the 105th anniversary, I don't primarily think about ideology. I think about time because 105 years is a very long time. And for many Chinese people, the question isn't really ideology in the abstract. It's much more practical. Has the country become stronger? Have our lives become better? Or can the system survive crisis? Because in today's world, power, like we said, isn't just about military strength or economic strength. It's also about resilience. So sometimes I wonder whether one of China's greatest advantages is simply, it thinks in this long timelines. Always think ahead.
Yeah, this is what you call soft power. Yeah, as I said, I started liking China uh, after watching Jackie Chan's movies. You see,
Okay, a lot of people are like that. Especially, I
yeah,
think, some Russians I talked to when I visited Russia last year. I talked to four young people in Moscow, and all of them started to understand China, learn about Chinese culture from Jackie Chan's film. So way
yeah.
to go, Jackie Chan. Great
Yeah, way
influence.
to go. I mean, I think he did a lot for China, for Chinese culture. A lot,
Yep. Yep.
definitely. Everybody likes him, not just in China or Brazil or even America. Like he made a lot
Hmm.
of movies in America, they were all famous. So this is important. Like people they tend to help your country when they like you, when they like the culture of your country.
Yes.
As I
Yes.
said, for example, I still believe that America has base around the world. Many people like America because of their soft power. Like many people like American movies, American series, American way of
Hmm.
life, thinking.
Hmm.
So this is what we have to do the same. Countries
Yes.
that want to influence the world. And for example, I think for China, it's also historical. If you see I like to read history. I read the history of all countries in the world. And if you see East Asia, like Japan, Korea, Vietnam, they were heavily influenced by Chinese culture in
Mm.
everything, in everything basically.
Yes.
So that's why Zhongguo, the country of the center of the world, like we are, our purpose on this planet is on this life, in life is to influence other nations,
Yeah.
and it is very interesting. It is fantastic.
Yeah. And also having more people to come to a country and see it with their own eyes, to experience the culture.
I'm
It's also very
coming.
important. Yeah,
Soon
that's
I'll be
why.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this
Going to
month,
say
this month I'm going there. I am going
that's
to.
wonderful. There are a lot of visa-free policies, right? It's bringing a lot more, much more people, many more people to China nowadays. A lot of Westerners have already changed their perception, their stereotypes about China. So this is definitely a very good way. I'm so looking forward, to know what discoveries you have found in
I want to
China
go to
after your
Chengdu.
exploration.
Chengdu, did I say correctly? Chengdu?
Chengdu, yeah, in Sichuan province.
Chengdu.
Ooh, the
Yeah.
food there
I
was
want to see
great.
pandas. I want to see
You
pandas.
have to try the hot pot there.
Okay.
Oh, I love the hot pot there.
Perfect. This is
All right.
a place I want to go the most.
Great. I guess I'll see you in Beijing, and
Definitely. I'll be there too.
that'll be great. When we started, recording today, I thought we were going to talk about, just America and Iran, the Middle East conflict. But instead, we talked about funerals, oil reserves, energy, football, and political systems, which honestly might just be what geopolitics actually is. It's never really just about states. It's about people, memory, fear, hope, and sometimes it's about football players, right? And like how football players give each other white roses. And yeah, I guess this is it. Thank you so
I
much
think
for
this is what
watching.
makes channels famous, because they don't just repeat a script. They talk to each other and they discuss. This is why podcasts are so famous, because two people talking about what they think, what they feel.
Yeah. Hopefully, this podcast, this channel will get huge one
It can
day.
get
And thank you
huge.
so much. If you're still here listening to episode 2, thank you very much. Please give it a like and subscribe and let us know your opinion on today's world in the comments. So yeah, we'll see you next time on Power and Perspective.
See you. Bye.